I'm delighted to present Sustainable Stories. This is an ITIC spotlight on Irish sustainable tourism businesses, which is being produced in association with AIB. ITIC is the Irish Tourism Industry Confederation. We represent 20,000 tourism businesses across the country. And our recently launched Sustainable Tourism Report is available on our website, itic.ie. In this series of videos, I'm going to be talking with leaders in the tourism sector who've made exceptional steps towards achieving climate action goals, and to hear some of their stories of how they're managing their businesses responsibly and sustainably. So today I'm speaking to Stephen Meehan. Stephen is the Chief Executive of the Convention Centre in Dublin, and it's a pleasure to have you here today. We're going to chat about the CCD, that iconic building that we see on Dublin's quays, there since 2010, lighting up the Liffey with all the amazing events that you bring to Dublin for all of us to enjoy. So Stephen, going right back to the beginning, can you give us an overview of how the CCD was conceived in the early days? I know it very much had an eye to being environmentally friendly.
Great. Thank you so much, Catherine, and thank you for the wonderful and warm introduction. I'd be delighted to give an overview of where we've come from in our approach to sustainability over the years. To start, I might highlight, just for reference, there's probably four key things which help best bring sustainability to life here in the Convention Centre Dublin and the CCD. Firstly, for us, sustainability is really embedded in the business. It's in our strategic initiatives, it's in our vision statement, it's in our business foundations, in our goals and objectives. Secondly, it's really owned by all. It's not just an initiative by a bunch of managers. It's owned by all, and everybody has an opportunity to be involved, and indeed we all have a part to play. Thirdly, we have clear goals for sustainability, and we look to highlight the achievements with the team as well, so that people are aware of where we stand and where we seek to go. And then finally, our approach to sustainability is customer centric. We consider the needs and indeed desires of our clients throughout all of our sustainability efforts. So just really how it's in our very core or DNA, if you like. Looking back, work on the CCD above ground began in November 2007. And as you mentioned, we were in a very different world, in a very different Ireland in terms of sustainability at the time. It wasn't a term that you would have commonly heard. And indeed, it wasn't to the forefront of many businesses' minds. But from the very beginning, sustainability as we know it today was integral to the CCD. The building itself was designed by Pritzker Prize award-winning Irish-born architect Kevin Roach, who, together with our founding chair at the time, Dermot Dwyer, put the employee and the delegate experience to the very forefront of his mind. So an example of this really is how we use light. With the stunning light that you've personally experienced, and I'm sure many of the people watching will have as well. The way it floods through the atrium at the front of the building, it helps us to use natural light on all of the 6 foyer spaces that we have. And for visitors, that really gives these beautiful views of the River Liffey, of Dublin city centre, and if you have better eyesight than I do, of the Wicklow Mountains in the distance then as well. The venue was recognised as the first carbon neutrally constructed convention centre in the world, with the design meeting really high standards of environmental sustainability at the time. And you only need to stand in our ground floor to witness that natural light beaming through the glass and into the building. And clients often use these river view spaces for networking, for coffee, lunch breaks, so that you can just soak it all up. So I suppose it's multifaceted. Most of the meeting spaces that we have as well, they're fitted with motion sensors, so they automatically turn lights off when the room is empty. So that was pretty unique at the time. And all of our exterior lights as well, including the rim beams, which you referenced earlier, they use energy saving LED bulbs as well. And only a year after opening, the CCD showed good commitment to long-term sustainability in achieving ISO, first 14,001 as well as 9,001. And last year we built further upon that by achieving the International Standard for Sustainable Event Management, ISO 2012-1. So we've, I think we have all the ISOs that we could have at this particular point in time. We do have 3 foundations in the business. That's people, customer, and the world around us, to which sustainability is obviously key. And here in under our foundation of the world around us, it's how we note how we care about the planet and all that inhabit us, that we believe in sustainable event delivery, and we want to lead the way in this regard and impact positively the environment and the economy and society. So I suppose to sum it all up, it's really integral to our business and our people, and it's so important to our delegates and our clients and customers as well.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that, as you say, it was the first to be constructed with that carbon neutral, intention behind it. But I love the way you mentioned the extraordinary use of light and also the views that you have, because I know you win a lot of international business, and the international delegate very much gets a sense. We are in Dublin. We know exactly where we are. We've got an iconic view up the Liffey. We can see the Sam Beckett Bridge. There's a real sense of place for those visitors that come here. And as I say, it's an iconic spot on the Dublin landscape, and innovative as well at the time to not go, back in 2007 when it was being conceptualized, not to go with kind of the black box style convention centre, which I suppose would have been a blight on the landscape. But you've referenced the ISO and the standards, and obviously the accreditations are very important, both in terms of keeping up with the standards that you have, but they're of value as well to buyers, isn't that right, in terms of decision making, where they're going to go when they choose a conference destination?
Yeah, they are indeed, Catherine. We have a number of important accreditations, such as the ISOs that I did mention, but we also hold a gold healthy venue status, and we're members of Origin Green. So I think they show not only our long-term commitment to how we can positively impact the world around us, but they are indeed so important to clients and also to potential clients. It's top of their prioritization when they're considering the destinations for their future events. And over the last number of years, and indeed before COVID, clients, they regularly ask for what those credentials are. They want to know about them. They're inquisitive, and then they want to work with businesses that support the same ethos and values, of course, that match their own. A good example of an international congress that we won as a result of having the healthy venue status was the International Congress on Obesity, which we won in 2018, originally for 2020. And that was because we had that accreditation, which is achieved by venues that support and promote healthy conferences and meetings. So it's about the food options that you provide and the facilities that you have and how you highlight those. So how they can be used for activity during events, be it in the form of standing meetings or encouraging people to use the stairs rather than the lifts, and so on and so forth. So we're also looking to undertake steps to become a carbon neutral business by 2025.
Yeah, as you say, I mean, when you are bidding competitively against international destinations, Barcelona or Amsterdam, wherever it might be, when you have that evidence to back up that you take these sustainable accreditations seriously, that you keep up with them every year, and also that you've won business in the past, which shows, good examples. But if I were a delegate coming to the CCD for an event, like how does it look sustainable to me, or how do you deliver events that are sustainable? I imagine that because of the very high service level that's involved in delivering an event, it's a challenge to keep that fingerprint low.
Yeah, it is. I should say the building itself is a 44,000 square meter building. So how we deliver to our front of house, we need to really consider how we run and manage our heart of house, or what you may know as the back of house. We call it heart of house because it's the core of where everything happens in the building. So there's lots of things that we do here. In January of last year, we changed our electricity provider to 100% green electricity. So that led to a dramatic reduction in our carbon emission output for electricity to zero. And it also delivered almost a 70% drop in our CO2 emissions as a result. We use 100% recycled napkins and wooden stir sticks. So you'd see those as a delegate meandering around the venue. And all of our disposal coffee cups and teacups are compostable. Our cash catering is fully plastic free. And we have been replacing other cutlery items and such with green packaging, cutlery, drinks containers, etc. And I suppose they're the first steps. We've set ourselves a goal to remove all single-use plastics from the venue by 2023. And one valuable initiative that we're introducing, which actually came from one of our partner PCOs that we work very closely with Keynote, we're introducing water fountains on site for clients and delegates to refill their own water bottles rather than purchasing plastic bottles throughout an event. So those stations will be located around the venue and they'll display information as to how much water is being dispensed as well.
When you talk about, I mean, you run events with several thousand people in at any one time. That must generate, compostable or not, that must generate a huge amount of waste. And I imagine there's a pretty complex management system involved in taking care of that.
Yeah, there is, Catherine. I will say we have a truly fantastic team here. And to particularly note in this regard, we have a truly fantastic cleaning team that's dedicated to delivering events in the most sustainable way that we can. We've got high rates of recycling. We consistently rank above 97% in terms of our recycling. So it's a pretty good, unique achievement from our industry. But we have, since inception, we have triple waste bins around the building. So you try to segregate its source. Of course, the idea is to minimize the waste to start with. So we encourage clients to support here by using digital rather than printed materials wherever possible. A good example of this was recently we held the 68th Renaissance Society of America. They had an event with no printed material and they used an event app with digital signage to navigate around the building with digital branding and direction. So the event was practically paperless. In terms of water usage, it's a really important area to ensure that we minimize the water usage in the building, and we've got some good technology to help us with that in terms of sensor taps at all the wash hand basins and sensor flushes in all the urinals. In the kitchens then separately, we've got really efficient dishwasher units. So all of this just helps us to minimize our water usage. Some ideas of what we've implemented thus far, but as you know, it's an approach. Sustainability is an approach. It's not a destination. We've a lot done, but we've a lot more to learn and a lot more to do.
Yeah, and it sounds like, I mean, you're thinking smartly about it. About how you can reduce things, but also using the smart technology that's there. There's probably technologies you're using now, which were only concepts 5 years ago. As a building, it must be it's friendly to new technology.
No, that's right. I mean, there's very little that you would change here. Looking back to when it was designed, Kevin Roach and Dermot Dwyer at the time, before they did anything in terms of the design of the building and how it was to function, they went and visited other convention centres and followed the employee experience from the entrance to the building to their place of work and considered the same from a delegate experience. So there is very, very little that you would change in this building. It's very adaptable to the needs of clients that have very different needs, which makes it a whole lot easier to operate in, I have to say.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you should say that because, of course, we would, in the hospitality business, we would often talk about, the customer journey, but in actual fact, it's the user journey as well, because the employee who works the site and walks the site has a completely different experience to the delegate. But I know we've talked a lot today just about the environmental side of sustainability, but famously we talk about the 3 different pillars, with social and economic as well. And you obviously, you've spoken repeatedly about your team and the importance of the staff that work there with you in following through both with ideas and in terms of the delivery. So obviously you encourage them to embrace and live the sustainable values that you have in the building.
Yes, that's right, Catherine. To echo your point, sustainability is certainly the 3 dimensions of environmental, economic, and social. And I think we have a a really good balance here. We're fortunate to have great buy-in from all of Clon CCD, from all of our team. As I mentioned, one of the foundations of the business is the world around us. And from this foundation, we created a sustainability management group, which was formed from people across the business, totally voluntary. All of those involved are extremely passionate. They're innovative. They've come up with some great, exciting ideas already around carbon offsetting and such. To give an example, last year, after an idea from one of the team members, we launched an offering to enable clients to offset carbon emissions for their particular event at the CCD. So it's done by calculating the event's total CO2 emissions and then planting a number of indigenous Irish trees to offset the CO2. Yeah. So in June of last year, the sustainability management team went to County Wicklow to plant those indigenous trees. Since offering that in September of last year, we've had 10 different events offset their CO2, with many more to come. And between a mix of the trees that have already been planted and the ones that are ordered for future events, there's over 1,400 trees. So it's estimated that that'll absorb per year about 31 tons of CO2, or 3,200 tons over the lifetime of the trees. So we're really excited about that. An example of something that came from within the team. The best ideas tend to come from the people in the organization.
That's fantastic. It's a very nice, very tidy way to conduct that offset. I spoke earlier on about the sense of place. Like when you look out that fantastic, any of those atrium windows looking out onto the Liffey, you're in no doubt but that you're in the heart of Dublin. And the CCD would, of course, have been a central part of the whole regeneration of the Docklands. And of course, that is, it's partially a business district now. It's a very old part of Dublin with a very well-established residential community. Talk to me a little bit about your community engagement and the importance of your location in Dublin 1.
One of the values of our business is that we care about making a difference, and we try to bring this to life by realizing that we have a part to play. We're a part of the local community. We respect those that live and work in the area, and we want to ensure that we have a positive impact on the community and the world around us. So we work with lots of local companies to provide design and marketing services, as well as working with lots of Irish producers and suppliers for our food and beverage requirements and such. In terms of engagement in the local area, we're a member of NEIC, the Northeast Inner City, and we have worked on many occasions with St. Lawrence O'Toole's National School, where we've had school plays here in the building and such as well. We've done a little bit of work in the school itself in years gone by. We're a good source of employment in the area as well as being an active member of Docklands Business Forum. So just last month, a number of the team joined a Volunteers Day, starting here in the CCD with members of other businesses nearby to clean up the Docklands for the day. So that's a nice initiative.
Very good. Yeah. I mentioned earlier on about bringing business to Dublin. I'm sure you have many partners critical to your success in terms of winning business for Ireland and for Dublin. Tell us a little bit about the stakeholders that you work with in terms of how these events come to land in Dublin.
Yeah, well, I mentioned a little bit in terms of the suppliers and such that we use locally and have that great partnership with to ensure that the quality of what's here is great and also sustainable. So it's a very collaborative approach where we all have the same goal in sight, and that's to position Ireland as a business tourism destination, all the while positively impacting the world around us. In terms of our agencies, our tourism agencies, be they Fáilte Ireland and Tourism Ireland, or indeed Dublin Convention Bureau, everybody recognises the importance of sustainability in business tourism, in conferences and events. DCB has taken part in the Global Destination Sustainability Index since 2017, and Dublin is benchmarked each year against other regions, and we're continuously looking at ways to revive our efforts and improve what we do here. So around that delivery of green and sustainable events, as well as improving the score for sustainable destination. Fáilte Ireland, when they had their kickoff event, when we were reopened in September of 2021, they held their kickoff. I'm sure many people that'll be watching were in attendance. It was really lovely to be part of that. But that was a carbon neutral event, and that was only the second event that we had since we reopened our doors in the third quarter of last year. So again, an example of how we're all connected and involved in attracting sustainable events into the city and the country.
Yeah. So what's next for the CCD? I mean, you've been open now 12 years. We've got carbon targets 2030, 2050. I mean, you referenced the Global Destination Sustainability Index, and I know that that's a highly competitive process because everybody's trying to improve on their ranking year on year. But what's next for yourselves there in Dublin, down in Dublin 1?
I think for us, momentum around sustainability is key, and we need to ensure the momentum by ensuring we always place our customer at the very center of everything that we do. The second thing I'd say is that sustainability is collaborative. There's only winners here by businesses sharing ideas and best practice. We're not in competition with anybody. We're not in competition with any other businesses around sustainability. We want everybody to succeed as best as possible, and we want to learn from others too. Some of the challenges that we see really, I suppose, in the short term are around price inflation and the attractiveness of our cities and country as a destination, which one obviously needs to fly to. I think that's a real challenge. Transport in the city is a challenge as well. We need to make sure we have sustainable transport options, such as rail link from the airport, which of course will be many years away. But in terms of the destination being appealing to our business tourists or international business tourists, I think that's a critical piece, if you like. In the longer run, I think we need to rethink how we best use our cities, especially with hybrid working. We must consider this in our travel infrastructures, in the development and planning of our hotels, our offices, housing, and indeed all of the amenities that our cities have to offer. Finally, I think cities, businesses, and we as individuals, we need to think about our energy efficiency, our waste management, and as I mentioned a little earlier on, our water consumption and indeed our biodiversity, both on a local and a national level, so that ultimately that we ensure that our actions today have a positive impact on the world around us for our future generations. So I think we have to think of it as individuals now and collectively now and into the future as well.
But what I've gathered from our chat here today is really, it sounds like you're very thoughtful in your approach to everything that you do. You're prepared to listen to your staff, to your customers, and that you're very generous in terms of sharing the learnings that you have. But you're right, it's all to the benefit. There are only winners when you share information like that. I'd like to thank you, Stephen, very much for sharing your sustainable story here today. Wish you and the team every continued success into the future.
No, thank you, Catherine. It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me.